Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Roundtable. I'm your host, Rob the House Guy, and I'm really excited because we have round two with some guests we had before. We had Jenna and Adam with us, and the reason we brought them back is, one, because we couldn't fit all of their knowledge into just one episode before, so we had to have them back, and two, today we're going to talk about rehab. And no, it's not because they just checked out a rehab and we thought it'd be good to talk to them. It's about rehabbing houses. So welcome back, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so last time we were diving into what got you into real estate investing and how you were finding your deals and handling the leads. Today's a whole new animal. It's way more specialized. It's about actually adding value through fixing these houses up. How did you learn how to do this? I mean, your background was in medical before. How did you all of a sudden decide that you can go and do a $50,000 project on a house?
I always wanted to do real estate. I always wanted to flip the houses. You see the stuff on TV and you think, you know, that looks easy. Let's go do it. And so I educated myself. I spent the time and just learned it and just kind of trial by error.
Yeah. I mean, just what she said, school of hard knocks, trial by error. You're not going to get it right the first time you do it, but so long as you don't give up and keep pushing forward, it's really where you learn your big lessons.
So do you guys actually do the work yourselves on the house?
No, we contract everything out. Well, most everything. There's times that you go into a project and something needs cleaned up or there's little odds and ends that we don't mind getting dirty, but it's more efficient and better for us to hire it out than do it ourselves.
Right. So you guys are hiring out, which brings me to my next question. Hiring contractors. I always find if you walk through Home Depot, literally everyone and their brother, if you're wearing a suit, will run up to you and say, hey, are you hiring? I can do everything on a house. Since I was a kid, I've been building houses with my grandfather. How do you sort through all those people?
Well, I think that a lot of it's going to come from referrals. It's going to come from asking them to see previous work. It's going to, I guess, just looking at their vehicle, just looking at the way they present themselves. Also, it's just a lot of respect type of things with me, because being a female, getting into this whenever I was younger, because I've been doing this for 6 years. When I first started, I was in my 20s. I was a young blonde girl, and the way that somebody is going to treat me, even if it's their first impression, I feel like is going to dictate how they're going to work with me in the future. So if somebody gives me one of those, looks you up and down and kind of, says, put me in contact with whoever's in charge around here, oh, you mean me, you mean this person. So I kind of feel like if you're not going to respect me now, you're not going to respect me in the future, and it says a lot just on the way that they treat you.
Wow. Well, how about, do you feel the same way that they're just looking you up and down?
Yeah, all day long, especially down the aisles of Home Depot. No, it's a lot of what she said is the respect issue, and you see how when they come into your job site, how do they act? Are they picking on everything else that's done there, or talking about every contractor can find problems wrong with somebody else's work? But it's more like if you see a problem, tell me the solution. I don't need you to just come around and nitpick my whole house and tell me, oh, this is wrong, you need to do that and that. Give me a reason why, so that I can improve myself and make sure it doesn't happen again. Because like we said, we didn't come from a construction background. We learned this as we went. We use different tools to make ourselves better. But really seeing how they interact with you, if they think they're too good for the job, or if they give a crazy bid that I would never pay that in a million years, it's kind of a sign that they're just guessing, or they don't even want your job, and we don't want to work with people that don't want to work with us.
So now we've identified that the type of person you want to hire, and once you've looked over their work and realized they're going to give you a certain level of respect, now we're to the part of accepting their bid and looking at exactly the terms and conditions of their bid. What do you guys look for? Because these are independent 1099 contractors. You're not hiring them as W-2 employees, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so with that, if they're a roofer coming in to say that they want to put a roof on the house, or someone putting a kitchen in, how are you looking at it? Are they supplying materials? Are you supplying materials? Are you giving them down payments? What's your standard operating procedure for that?
When it comes to down payments, no. We never pay anybody for work that they haven't done. It's just the same philosophy if you worked at Walmart or you worked anywhere else. You don't go in there on your first day and get your 2-week paycheck. So the whole thing should hold true whenever it comes to a contractor. Why do I need to pay you before your work has even started? if I'm supplying the material, I want to be in control of that. If they're supplying the material, it should come out of their pocket, and I'll pay them on a weekly type of basis. But I'm never going to pay anybody for work that hasn't been completed. And when it comes to our rules and regulations, we're going to supply the contract. So I'm going to tell them the standards for which they must work, when they start, when they stop, the penalty for every day that they're late. I'm going to tell them about cleanup. There's going to be a lot of requirements that I have about warranting their work for a year. And I feel like that any reputable contractor shouldn't have an issue warranting their work for a year, or cleaning up their mess afterwards, or finishing whenever they say they're supposed to finish, or starting whenever they're supposed to start. So if they're going to argue with me on those type of things, I feel like it's just going to be a red flag that person's going to be difficult and not follow through.
Right. No, good point. So I find there's a balance between finding a contractor that is acceptable and meeting your criteria, and still being able to work in an affordable fashion to make the job work, to still be an investor price job. How do you find that? How do you balance that and find the guy that's available and cheap? Because it's usually like good, cheap, and fast. You can pick two of the three.
Yeah, that's what I've always heard. And it's really based on your timeline. I tell my guys, do it right. I want it done right. I don't want you to cut corners, because this is my name and my face on this house whenever I sell it. So you get to walk away, and I don't get to say that, well, Joe did the plumbing, so we'll just give you his number and you can go back and call. So I would prefer quality and price, but at the same time, you got to work at the time budget, and that's where we lay out our payment schedule. They know that we like to pay contractors because they got work done, and putting that in the schedule and getting them to say, okay, it's going to take me a little longer. I need 4 days to complete this job. Okay, well, if you go to 5, just know it's going to be, this is the penalty for going beyond our time frame. So you get good quality and you get a good price, and then I would go from there.
Have you guys ever considered the opposite of the penalties, but rewarding for being done early?
We've thought of that, and we've done that different times, but it's not very often that it happens.
Never happens. I do that all the time. I'll say, okay, it's going to be a $100 per day penalty if you're late. I'll give you $200 a day for every day you're early. They're never early.
It's more of like things that we'll do for them. You know, it's like bonuses or a Christmas present, or ordering pizza if they, on a Friday, that they finish the work early, or having, a case of water brought there, or, just little things like that where you show them that you care about them, or, posting pictures online and tagging your contractor's name in there so that way they're getting more business based on you. But you were talking about the price versus quality. Something that we look for are contractors that are going to give us good pricing based on the expectation of getting more work from us in the future.
Right.
And also that helps us evaluate a contractor, because if I say to somebody, okay, what should I do with this scenario? And I know they give me one of two options. One of them is going to give them more money. One of them is going to be the more cost-effective way for me to tackle that project. And if they go towards that route multiple times, whenever I know the answer either way, I know that person has my back, and they know that the more money I save, the more jobs I can give them. I don't want somebody to just look at me as the dollar sign right now. I want somebody to look at me as a long-term investment working with me.
No, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. So, in talking about pricing, I know my price model is always, I have a simple formula that I'm asking how long are you going to be on the job, how many guys are you going to have on the job, and then how much is the labor going to be, and just simple math breaks that down towards their hourly rate. And some of the guys, they don't even know that if you start adding it all up, some of them will come in for a painting job and they're $180 an hour or something crazy, and you got to reel them back in. Do you guys have a particular formula you use, or I know RealFlow has the shameless plug time, has Hammer Point on there that you can go through and plug things in and show you exactly how much it should be.
Yeah, so we definitely use Hammer Point. When we originally go to look at a house, we'll say, okay, it needs X, Y, and Z done, enter it into Hammer Point, and then from there, it's more of, okay, I want you to give me a bid. Does this fall into what I'm expecting to pay? Sometimes you get a great bid, sometimes you get an overbid, but overall, are we meeting the general concept of the job here? And that's what I personally look at is, okay, I know I need to make up ground on gutters, but my painter's not as bad. And this might come too from having multiple contractors we've worked with over and over and over again. So if you create a baseline and then work backwards, you can always beat them up on price. You can ask, they might say no, but if you're doing right by them, then they're going to do good quality work and they're going to want to come back and work for you.
All right, so now let's get to materials on the job. Do you have, without mentioning names, but do you have preferred vendors that you have deals worked out with for getting materials at a discount price, or are you just kind of blindly running into the big box stores?
As far as Home Depot, Lowe's, we use those stores. We like them. We a lot of times prefer Home Depot just because it's, we are able to get some cash back at the end of the year. When it comes to our painting, we always use Sherwin-Williams because we get a significant discount. One thing that people don't realize is that Sherwin-Williams also has a flooring division. So we get all of our carpet from Sherwin-Williams, and it's cheaper than what we were getting our carpet at Lowe's, and not a lot of people know that type of stuff. We have a kitchen company that's based out of our area that gives us a significant discount that we always use. And so, we have different companies that we typically use when it comes to our products that we use.
Just the fact the way what you just said there, when you talked about Sherwin-Williams having a flooring division and also having different prices on paints depending on whomever you are going in there, just shows that you guys are real rehabbers, because there's so many people I know that are in this business and they don't know stuff like that. Like, you'll mention to people that you can get flooring at Sherwin-Williams, they look at you like you're crazy. Yeah. And it really is the cheapest flooring out there that you can get. And then it's sad because even my mother, she'll go in there to buy paint and pay like $35 a gallon. And I'm like, I get it for $9.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then even in the big box stores, there's always a contact that you can make to help you with your price. So if it can go to the bid room if you're spending X number of dollars, and generally in these houses, you're spending way more than the allotted amount, and you can get a group discount on buying in bulk or buying a whole house worth of material all at once.
Well, here's the cool thing that I use. Again, I know we mentioned in our last episode that we were all on here together talking about Real Flow. I also use it for my bidding process. And regardless of whoever you're using, whatever, big box store or local hardware, whatever, you can put your specific pricing in there, because I'm sure you get different pricing than I do, and you get different pricing than I do at the same stores. So you can put what works for you in the program, and the multipliers work. So that's the cool thing, that you don't have to sit there and redo math every time. Right. So how about tools? Let's talk tools for a second. Are you ever providing tools for your...
No.
Yeah.
No.
For your professionals working for you.
Well, the thing is that, okay, if we're going to come here and we're going to shoot video, they wouldn't expect me to bring my own camera.
These are my cameras.
I know.
I'm kidding. They're not.
If I'm going to say I'm getting married and I'm hiring a wedding photographer, that wedding photographer doesn't expect me as the bride to supply the camera. I feel like if somebody is a legitimate contractor, a legitimate business, they should have those things. And main reason why we don't supply them, well, two main reasons: liability and also theft. Because if somebody gets cut on my saw, who do you think they're going to come after? They're going to come after me, they're going to sue me, my business, and try to get everything that I have, for the loss of their hand, and the loss of their hand forever. And also, I don't want that stuff walking off, because it does. That's the first thing contractors do if they're irritated with something, or if they have a problem, they need to sell it and make money somehow.
Or they won't take care of it as good if they had to spend the money for it to buy that tool. So it's like, oh yeah, I burned up your saw, I just threw it in the trash, and you're going to need a new one. Oh, thanks, I'll take it out of your paint. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all contractors aren't villains. All contractors, some of them are good. Yeah. However, I can say that I have bought a lot of generators, and I don't think right now I have any generators. They always seem to disappear, like ladders disappear. I could retire on those things. But I believe that we have to keep the honest people honest. And like you said, there's always people, especially as a real estate investor, we're viewed as the big money bags. It just has cash flowing out, and everyone kind of feels that we're probably eating more pie than they are. Yeah. So tools, that's a good thing. Not providing one because of IRS code, then now they're more of an employee than a 1099. 2, so liability, and 3, so we don't have any theft on there. So you mentioned in the last episode that you do multiple markets, large markets, small markets, and they're not close to each other. You're always from Pennsylvania to Kansas to Tennessee to every place on the planet here. How are you overseeing projects from so far away?
A lot of it's systems. So who do you have, what boots on the ground? Because you're going to have somebody in the neighborhood, boots on the ground. Whether, if you don't know anybody, you can hire an inspector. An inspector's job is to go out there, a home inspector, to go out there and review work. So if you're in a different market somewhere where I can't go to physically check to make sure they've got the work done, hire it out. You do things in shifts. You can set it up to where X, Y, and Z needs done. And now I'm going to send my inspector. He's going to take pictures because that's his job. He's going to notate anything that he feels was done improperly because that's his job. And he's going to send the full report back to me. And I have it set up so that now I don't have to pay you till my inspector approves that everything is done. So there still has to be oversight. There still has to be boots on the ground. It's just putting in a system in place. And once you know your prices might not be the same, but this is how we roll through a house, you can apply it because the houses are the same. It's just the kind of work or what work or who's doing it, and you go from there.
And it seems like a good way to insulate yourself, too, to be the good guy, bad guy. Like, hey, I'd write you a check as long as they say your work's good. It's not you saying it's bad, it's them saying it's bad.
And we also have other fellow investors that are in those areas that we rely on. So they know my marketing may not be as strong as what their marketing is. So if they're going to do some marketing in my area, let's team up together. And if I get a lead, they're going to go look at it for me. And if we decide to joint venture on that project, great. So they can kind of be the workhorse. I may have the funding. So that kind of, we can determine how we want to build that partnership if we choose to do that.
Right. So reality TV, like everyone's watching all these flip this show, that show, this house, that house. I mean, there's so darn many of them these days. Actually, I know you don't like to be painted with that brush, but you guys were on one of those shows. Without giving away the secrets of being a magician, how real are the reality shows?
I feel like it's not necessarily that they're not real. I feel like they may make it seem that it's a lot easier to do things, or that you run into certain situations that are either overdone or underdone. And what I mean by that is, somebody may just, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to flip it, and then they show you in a half hour later the house is done. And then you go to do it yourself, and then you think, holy heck, I didn't know to look for this, I didn't know to look for that. And that kind of ties into having a good education that's behind you so that you know to look for these certain things. But also, Adam can attest to it. There are certain things that may be over-embellished or under-embellished, but I think getting your hands dirty in real life is where you'll learn a lot more, not necessarily just by watching a TV show.
Right.
Yeah. They for sure want to show the glamour side of it and not all the dirt.
Years ago, I was talking to Ty Pennington, and the whole move this bus. I'm like, Ty, how in the world are you guys doing a house in 5 days? And he goes, oh, it's not 5 days, Rob. It's 3 days. We have a day of setup and a day of cleanup. Before all that, there's 3 days we're doing that. It just blows my mind because then I start questioning myself as an investor like you guys. I'm like, well, geez, why am I so slow? Why did this take me 45 days? I don't get it. It should be 3 days. But with unlimited budget, good, cheap, and fast, things can change quite a bit.
24-hour shifts and 27 contractors.
Yeah.
So, when we did our show, that's what we had. We had like 27 contractors, and we did it in like 17 days or something like that. It wasn't a full-out 3-day job like them, but we don't typically flip a house in 17 days, start to finish, top to bottom in real life, but we had that many people there because we had to.
Now, when you were using, and we won't dwell on this whole reality show thing, but when you had 27 contractors there, were these contractors that you got to choose and your normal people that you guys worked with, or were these provided by the show?
Oh, it could be a combination. So they had wanted us to provide a list, and I gave them 60 different contractors that we either had used or I knew of. And then they also did a lot of marketing on their end that brought in contractors all the way from the Pittsburgh area. And then we had a big open house type of interview where they just kind of interviewed the people, and the people that we did select were people that we actually had used in the past because they understood our systems, they understood the pricing and the speed.
Okay, when I hear you talk about having 27 contractors all on one set, and they're expecting you to manage them and handle all this yourself?
Well, I think it's a little bit a combination of both. So the production team, they're going to have an agenda of, okay, the tile's going in the bathroom today, and then later on this afternoon we're taking a scene in the kitchen, or we're doing something out on the porch. So there's an agenda. So every contractor is going to know, okay, I'm in this scene, I'm in this scene, and then behind the scenes there's other things going on, because nobody really cares to watch all the drywall go up, or the meticulous painting that has to happen, or the sanding of the stairs. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and my problem that I have is that I'm a control freak, and I like to have my hand and know exactly what's going on and tell everybody what's going on and making sure that it's organized, whereas we may have a production company or a team that hasn't ever flipped a house in their life trying to organize these contractors. So they may not be super efficient with it, but it works out, and everybody has to work together.
Right. Yeah. When I hear about having 27 contractors all in one place at one time, and I'm just being honest, it's probably a little controversial to even say, but I just imagine herding cats, for one, and then two, to have 27 of them that are together enough in their lives at one time. It's like, I've done this a long time, just as you have, and how many people are you guys still working with from job 1 to job 50 or wherever you are now? The same crew has followed you all the way through.
It's not always been the same crew, and you definitely, as rehabbers, as we adapt our business, we also find better contractors. So I like to ask for referrals from somebody, like, say you have a drywaller, and then do you know a painter? And these people will all work together, but every contractor, I agree with you, they all have different personalities. You get them all together in a room, and they probably know so-and-so because they worked on this job together and they didn't get along. It's definitely you, as the rehabber, taking control of the job, letting everybody know this is the role that you play, do your job, let's not worry about what so-and-so's doing, and kind of, you have to be the boss. You're paying at the end of the day. They're working on your schedule, and let's leave the drama out of it. Let's just move on and be professionals.
Yeah, you do find yourself more of the adult babysitter sometimes on these jobs. That's how I've always found.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're playing mom at home and then mom at the job.
Yeah, and some of the contractors that we have now, that we work with now, was the same contractor I worked with on my first house I ever did. However, in the meantime, we've gone through dozens and dozens of contractors that have either stolen something, or didn't show up, or didn't do what they were going to say they were going to do. So you have great ones, and then you have ones that you have to put more effort into kind of babysitting, like you mentioned.
Oh yeah, I have them. I had one job that the guys, they went back. I'm saying this, that maybe they did it, maybe they didn't, but my job got stripped. Like, French doors got taken out, cabinets got taken out, and their tools were still there the next day. I'm like, so they came in and unbolted my cabinets and took doors out and took the hot water tank, but left your tools? They said, it's really just professional courtesy. That's why they do that. They just knew we were other contractors. I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm thinking I found the culprits here.
Right, and everything doesn't always go smooth on these jobs, and that's part of the getting in and getting dirty and learning it. A lot of people, you face adversity and you quit. Somebody stole my tools, I'm done with this, everybody's a bad guy, I can't do this anymore. If you take that mentality, the first person that does you wrong, you're done. You gave up everything that you've been fighting for, and it's going to happen again, just like it happened in the past. Just find a way to make it not happen as often, or not hurt you as much.
Well, I feel like what separates you from everybody else is that whenever they all quit, you don't. And figuring out, okay, I made a mistake here, how do we not allow that to happen again? And a lot of the things that we have learned through the School of Hard Knocks, we may not have known how to do plumbing or electrical or all these different things in the beginning, but if we ever got taken advantage of and we had no choice but to fix something because we couldn't get somebody in last minute and we learned it, from learning it helps us get a lot better at knowing what is right and what is wrong with another contractor. So if somebody says later on down the road, oh, this plumbing is right, and we know from our experience that's going to leak, or that electrical isn't up to code, it sucks that it happened, but it has helped us become stronger in the future.
Okay, next question, because we're saying up to code or whatever. pulling permits, we're assuming that no city officials are watching these videos, percentage of times that you pull permits versus just getting the job done.
We've only ever pulled one permit ever, just because where we invest, we don't have to pull a permit unless we change a load-bearing or a structural wall.
Or build a fence.
Or build a fence.
Or build a fence.
Yeah. So, and we're very, very close with our code enforcement team. We know them, we have their cell phones, we'll text them. They're great to work with. We know the rules and the regulations. We don't break the rules. It's just there aren't a lot of rules where we are.
Wow, that's perfect.
Well, it can be perfect, but then you have a lot of shoddy jobs and a lot of shoddy work. So you just don't want to have that reputation of the house that falls down.
Yeah, I could see that. There's some places that go overkill, especially when you're investing around the country in large markets and smaller markets. It does change greatly. How do you feel that you handle the change going to a massive market when it's 500 miles away? And I'm pretty sure you don't have the code enforcement's cell phone number that you're texting them.
Well, in those other areas, you have to know those rules and regulations where it seems like you can't even put a toilet in without having a permit. So that's where it pays to have somebody who is local down there that knows all the rules and the regulations that can oversee that type of stuff. Because the last thing you want to do is close in walls, frame everything, close in walls, and all of a sudden you realize you had to have your plumbing inspected beforehand. So you need to know those things to save a lot of money and headaches.
Yeah, and a home inspector is going to know, well, your box isn't inspected. Well, how did you close up the walls, and how are you selling this house with no sticker on your box? Well, that's the person that went back and double checked all the work the contractor did. There was no permit. Sorry, John. You didn't pull permits before. If we get busted for this, that's not right. You have to go back and get re-permitted. And it is built into our contracts. All permits must be pulled. All proof should be shown. And then that way it's the contractor's responsibility instead of mine going down to the courthouse or flying out to Kansas City to be like, hey, I need to pull permits today. We put it on the guy that's doing the work that should know the code. If you're an electrician, you should know the electrical code, or a plumber. And leave it as their responsibility as opposed to making it mine.
One of the things that I've always done if we're not pulling permits is if I'm concerned that maybe it's going to be an issue later on and we're closing walls back up, we will photo everything all the way through just to hopefully appeal to the brighter side of the inspector to say, okay, we can look at it in the photos and see that it was done correctly.
Yeah, we've used that too, not for permitting purposes, but for where'd the switch go? Where did we put the switch? The box got covered up and not cut out. How are we going to wire the lights? And then if you, like your inspector, should document all of that, or you should document it. Our contractors send us pictures, especially when they're wanting to get paid. Show me proof. I'm going to come check. And we've used pictures before in the past.
I do a lot of that because of the contractors need to get paid as soon as they put their hammer down, as I always like to put it. So with all the new modern technology, it's great, like Vimeo and Cash App and PayPal and so forth. I prefer Cash App personally, but I'll have them shoot me the pictures over, especially for grass cutting and stuff. Shoot me the before and the after, so I could see that, and then send me the bill in Cash App. I can just hit a button and it goes right to their account within minutes. Yeah. So when you're doing a inspection on a house that you're going to either buy for flip or hold or whatever, do you do your own inspections, or do you have someone else do it, or how do you determine like what work's going to need done?
Well, we always recommend getting an inspection, even if you've been doing this for 6 years, because there are things that I may not notice, or something will appear to look good, but until I may not realize that the shower is leaking because I'm not standing in the shower whenever I'm going to buy this house. And so there's certain things like maybe the roof, or I'm not crawling up on the roof. I'm not crawling in a gross crawl space, so I'm going to pay somebody to do that. And we have a great relationship with our inspector to where we only pay probably a quarter of what a normal home inspection would cost, because they're just going in and being a second set of eyes. Hey, look here, look there, and look here, because I feel confident on everything else. So I always recommend it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we don't need the full-blown report that a buyer would get whenever they go in, but I do think, especially starting out, if you're a new investor, you started out like we did, and we didn't know a lot about framing or plumbing or electrical or water in the basement, what's that going to cause? having that set of eyes that this is their job, they can go in and inspect it. As you get more experienced, you're going to start to notice this or that. I see this a lot. I see that a lot. And those things will come up over and over again, so you can be better prepared. And once you learn that this is how a cracked wall looks and this is a bad foundation, the guy only needed to tell me that once, and then I knew every time I went in there to look for that, and now I don't worry about bad foundations and paying tens of thousands of dollars because I didn't see it the first time.
Right. All right, guys, in wrapping this up, as you know, last time you were here, I asked you the final question about freedom, about how did real estate investing add freedom to you, your lives, your family. So now the question is about freedom. How has learning general contracting and running your own jobs and understanding the construction process as part of your real estate investing business, how has that added to your freedom personally and for your business? Or do you feel that it has taken away from it and put more on your plate?
I really feel like being a general contractor and learning to do those parts of the business organizes your life. It can create freedom or it can steal it. If you become a control freak, and like in our previous episode we talked about VAs, you're not willing to give them the ability to answer the phone and do this, that, or the other, it becomes a one-man show. And learning to GC, manage people, become a leader, that is going to ultimately in the end create freedom for you. But you've got to push through the hard part of wanting to control everything in order to get to the freedom point.
I feel like that it's given me the ability to have more confidence. A lot of my confidence is based on my knowledge that I've learned along the way. If I probably were to look back at a video of my first interview with a contractor, I probably was looking down at the ground. I probably didn't know anything what I was talking about. They could be making up words and I would just smile and nod. But now not too much gets past us. And I feel like that it has helped give me more freedom because I feel like I don't have to be that hawk, like he said, that control freak over the jobs, because there's certain terms that I know what they are. There's certain things I know the protocol, I know what goes on. And also it's given us more freedom in regards to our friends and our family, because if my family member needs something done at their house, they can go and spend a lot of money and pay a contractor to do it. If I know how to do it and I have that, I may already have that material, and we can throw a light in somebody's house. My mom wants a new fan, a new chandelier, or something like that. We can go over in an afternoon and put it up in an hour. So we're able to do things that I wasn't able to do before, but also it gives us the flexibility to kind of detach a little bit, just because I know that I have the confidence and the systems in place that I've learned along the way to kind of step back and do that.
Wow. So see, this is why we had Jenna and Adam back again, because you just can't get enough of these guys. I mean, they are true pioneers in this business and been doing it just so well for so long. You can't fake that kind of stuff. If there's some sort of takeaways that at least I got that maybe you folks watching it got as well, is the freedom of learning about this business. It's not only helping you just on your investment side, but it's helping you with your own homes and your family's homes, and really giving you a whole new skill in life that you can utilize on a personal scale. It's learned that hiring and firing contractors, knowing what to look for in people, you become a people person, and learning different personalities, and then running budgets and timelines and figuring out how to get jobs done. It's just amazing what you guys have brought to the table here today, and I thank you very much. And I'm Rob the House Guy, and this has been the Real Estate Investing Roundtable, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. And remember, nothing works unless you do.